Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
Welcome to Stress-Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Ray Samich, and my first honor and privilege duty of the day is to introduce all of you to my longtime radio co-host, colleague, and my dear friend, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you this fine day?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Missed last week, didn't have a chance to be with you, and my weekly opening of my brain and my heart's, my soul session, I missed it. So it's good to be back with you today and with our wonderful guests that we have from all over the world, Canada, United States, Portugal today, and who knows who else will be joining us over the course of the show. Ratanjit, today's topic is a very broad one because we can think of it in terms of things like finding treasure amidst trash of stuff that we all accumulate in our life. And I think we could probably do a show just about that, about all the stuff that we accumulate. But I also mean it in terms kind of like a metaphor, like how can we find goodness among all bad things? How can we find light amidst all the darkness? How can we find joy in the middle of a lot of sorrow? So I'm trying to put ourselves into a mindset with this show of not giving up and how to look for the good in the bad, so that there is inspiration and motivation to always continue, even when we're surrounded by garbage and trash. Is there a secret to be able to continue to have that will to do better, find better?
Your mind is amazingly creative, but it is imprisoned or controlled by the habits. So if you develop a habit of finding fault in others, finding fault in situation, finding fault in circumstances, you'll become a complainer. There are people who are constantly complaining, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
And simultaneously living in the same home many times, there is another person who is constantly looking for positive side of the situation, and they have developed a habit of finding goodness in everything. So it's actually your creative mind would find either the bad thing if it's focused on finding the difficulty or problems in any situation, it will find it. But at the same time, if the mind is somehow asked to find the goodness in situation, it will also find it. So it is ultimately, it's not the knowledge, it's the habit which runs our day-to-day activities. So until you focus on developing these habits, right habits, you are going to be imprisoned by the bad habits. Do I make any sense?
No, you make tremendous sense, and you answered the question very clearly, which I am grateful for, because sometimes you don't, but you did this perfectly. But it reveals something else to me, though. It reveals that maybe things aren't as desperate as we think they are. Maybe there isn't as much garbage and trash as we think because our habits have predetermined that we see those more than the good things. We see the sadness more than the joy. We see the trash more than the treasure. We see the reasons for being negative and being pessimistic more than the reasons to be optimistic. It is, I mean, I don't know how to evaluate this statement, but it just seems that there's more reason for negativity today. It just seems to be more trash out there in whatever category you can define that in. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just seeing more of the trash, and maybe there isn't more trash this year than there was 20 or 40 years ago. What do you think about that? Is the world, and I'm using trash very generically. I'm using it again as, all the negatives of life. Um, Truly garbage is in there. I mean, things that we shouldn't be working with and living with and dealing with is in there. But I also mean emotional trash, and I mean spiritual trash, and mind trash, if you will. Is there more of that out there, or have I just become in my older years, have I become more prone to see trash than treasure?
It reminds me of a interesting story. There was a youngster in a village in India, very poor village. They were barely able to feed their family. They hardly had a place to live, which they called house, and they did not have any electricity or any of those things. So everything was stacked against that kid. So somehow his curiosity, he was so curious, he always to know things. And any newspaper or some cutting he would have, he would try to read that. And somehow he got an access to this old uh, trash, which is these villagers would go to the city and and go to the houses and collect trash, basically, which is old newspaper, old books, and all these things. And so they would sell it and they would make a living out of this. And this youngster, when he focused on collecting the old paper garbage, mostly books and mostly newspaper, and he would read them. And suddenly he educated himself to the point, and he actually sat for there is a, a public service examination, which is the system they call IAS officer, Indian Administrative Service. So these people, they get appointed by the uh, collector or commissioner of the region. So he eventually appeared in one of those exams and he passed. So he became a collector. He became a very high officer. Now, other people who are living in that condition remain poor. So it is up to us. We all would find opportunities, and we can create opportunities to upgrade ourselves to a point that we can service the society, we can service others, we can have higher value in the process. So our life is all about not collecting garbage, collecting materials. You know, trash is of many kinds. Trash is material trash. It can be emotional trash. It can be intellectual trash. It can be all kinds of trash. So it depends on, instead of collecting all those trash, we find what can serve a human race, what can add value to people around us. So your ultimate happiness, your contentment, your euphoria only happens when you make yourself to a point, elevate yourself to a point that you become a value adding entity. You serve others. Your happiness lies in making others happy. That is the happiness. When your happiness is only by fulfilling your five senses, they will be limited. You can only eat so much ice cream, you will fall sick. So, senses induced happiness has very high limit. You can, if you like music, you're constantly watching, and you eventually get bored with this. So similarly, until you grow up from five senses to the happiness of the soul, happiness the soul only is available to us when we make others happy. And that has no limit. It doesn't, certain amounts is going to make you sick. No, it is unlimited. So until we understand that purpose of our life is to help to make others happy, we will be forever be collecting trash, right?
You said so many different things there. There's so many places I want to go back to. But I want to start. I give you a lot of credit earlier for answering my question. I'm going to take that credit away because this time you didn't. Because maybe it's a matter of opinion, so maybe it's not something again that you can quantify, but I wanted your opinion on it because in my opinion, there is more trash, more garbage in our world than ever before. And it's harder to find the habit and build the habit of finding treasure in trash. You know, when life was simple, when people didn't have all the technology and we could actually sit in a chair and not be overwhelmed by noises and music and news and chatter and garbage, we could actually think. We could actually think about who we are and that we're not going to be here and what's important in life and the people we love and those kind of things. Today, we don't, nobody has any time to do anything. Everybody is so busy. And in many cases, busy doing things that don't matter. So those, to me, those pressures that take our time that are worthless things are garbage. You know, it's another example of trash. Do you agree with me? Is it harder today to build a habit of finding treasure in trash because there's more trash than ever?
You remember that instant Mother Teresa was given the Nobel Prize, and he was
Yeah.
visiting US, and they took her to the biggest mall in the US. And after seeing the mall, her comment was, my goodness, I did not know I could live without so many things. So
Right.
ultimately, when you are focused on satisfying only your five senses, what tastes good, what looks good, and what smells good, and what feels good, and all that you are satisfying, you will be always engaged in collecting more garbage. So it's not the question of today we have more garbage because corporations and commercial enterprises basically sold us things because we were part in satisfying five senses. So most of the things are available which are only going to be satisfying our ego or taste or all these things. They are not essential. Many of those things are not essential. Look at when you go shopping grocery, about 90% of the grocery store is filled with things which are useless. Because all the foods which are prepared food are not good for you.
Right.
So similarly, you can see what Mother Teresa felt. So once you realize what is good, what is nourishing your human body, rather than fulfilling your taste. Look at our population, over 40% are obese because we are focusing on what is tasting good. All these corporations are creating things which taste good, which look good. So until we modify our fundamental habits of satisfying or serving our human body rather than fulfilling the need of our taste and our bucks, we are going to compromise this human body we live in. And
We're just starting to, I thought you were taking a pause. I'm sorry. We're just starting to unwrap this question about how to find treasure amongst all the trash in our life, how to continue to look for positives in the middle of negativity, to look for light in the middle of darkness, to look for things of value when we seem to be overwhelmed by trash around us. And we're just starting to open that box up and see if we can get the answers today. This is Stress Free Living. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Okay, your turn, everybody. If you've got a thought that you'd like to ask or add here, please do. Love to hear from you.
we have Dr. Marsh.
Good
Yes,
morning,
he's joined us.
everybody.
Good morning.
Morning, Dr. Jagdeep. Welcome.
Yeah. I think it is the way everybody looks at what is a trash and what is not a trash. That is also the perspective which we should be touching. And just to have an example, I think Ratanjit Singh might have heard about rock garden in Chandigarh, where all the broken ceramics were converted into a very highly appreciable sculptures, and they built a very great garden, which is unique by itself, long back, and they were only from trash. So, and people visit it like hundreds and thousands every day just to see the beautiful place where it is all made from trash, nothing from new things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have some quick thought?
Yeah, Ray, Steve.
Yes. Yes, Steve.
So I think we also have to distinguish between trash, meaning all the stuff and the material things. And I think part of the issue that we're all having, and I think what you're also saying, Ray, is there's a lot of negative people. There's a lot of people being unkind to us. And it's hard to pick yourself up when you see all that going on. And I think Ratanji's right. The only way you can get past it is not focus on that in your senses, but how you can make somebody else's life a little better, providing value. And I think that's the key. And I think he's right. We can get caught up in all these things, but trash doesn't necessarily mean mementos and material things. It's really what's going on in unkindness and people being unfair. And I think
We're back on Stress Free Living. Thank you so much for being with us. We interact with our Zoom audience in between our different breaks here during the show, and we'd love to have you be part of that so we can interact with you during the show and especially afterwards when we stop keeping track of the time and we can have an open conversation, and we do with the people from all around the world. I had misspoken earlier about Portugal. We actually have one of our Zoom guests who's going to Portugal, but we have one of our guests today who's in Bali that's joining us here. So we really appreciate everybody from joining us from all over the world. Wherever you are, know that you are always part of our stress-free living family, and we enjoy having you with us. Ratanjit, we've had a couple of great ideas there from people coming in that different ways that we can approach this topic, and we will do that. But I wanted to continue with where you were going, because you mentioned Mother Teresa with the Malls of America saying all these things I don't need. And you mentioned going into a grocery store, and you're absolutely right. And I think you said 90% of it we don't need. I would guess that 98% of what's in today's grocery stores we don't need. And and most of that is probably harmful to us because of all of the chemicals that are in it, all the preservatives, all of the whether there's different theories whether it's intentionally being put into the food to make us heavier and sicker and need medicine to heal us, or whether it's because it's an accidental side effect of other reasons. Who knows? I don't want to get into that theory, but we know most of the stuff when we look at a box or a package of something we buy, it's not really healthy for us. So that's a good example. I think everybody has gone into a grocery store, and I think we look around us to say, oh my gosh, if we really had to evaluate treasure from trash in a grocery store, we probably could fill just a little bit of our basket with 10 items that are treasures, that really are healthy, that really are needed, that really are essential to our life. And then everything else that we would put into that cart probably is garbage. It really is, not in our best interest. So that's probably a good example of this. But at the same time as I say that, we know that these other items aren't good for us. We realize it. They make us drowsy. They make us heavier than we should be. They make us feel a certain way. But why do we do it? Why do we spend our hard-earned money on things that taste good? Why do we spend our hard-earned money on things that we know aren't good for us? I mean, is it our fault? Is it because we're weak? Because we're influenced so much by advertisements and people telling us that these are the things that we need, even though we don't? I mean, what do you think is the cause for it? Is it because we're not disciplined enough?
Basically, we do not recognize the real trash. These material things, they're all useful. Even the deadliest poison, like potassium cyanide, when used properly, it can make intermediate for medicines, and those medicines can save life. But if potassium cyanide is put on our tongue, you instantly die. So everything, once we recognize the usefulness of that and use it properly, it becomes a treasure. So material things are not garbage. The real garbage is in our mind. Until we remove that garbage, if I have the wrong information in my mind about eating the food, I would take garbage. So the information in my mind itself is garbage. So until our habits are right, we have the wrong habit, which are garbage. Until we have the right information, the wrong information, which is inculcated in us because of my ego, because of my insecurity, because of my fear, are going to be incorrect. The right information only comes when I feel secure. I can understand and direct my thinking, my intellectual, with the right information. So my mind is full of garbage. Until I remove that garbage, it is going to accumulate all the worldly garbage in place of the right material which my mind needs. So until I basically change my mind's inventory with the right thoughts and right understanding and right information, my mind itself is guiding me to collect and indulge in garbage. So it is very difficult to digest that the real garbage exists in our thinking and in our information, in our mindset, right?
Well, and one of our Zoom guests asked us to talk about that because I think what you're saying is our perspective on what is garbage and what isn't is tainted by us, tainted by certain aspects of our life, of what we're looking for and where we're at in our life's journey. So what's important to us. So when I'm 10 years old, I might think that this toy is the most important thing in the world. And when I'm 12 years old, I may throw it away because it has no more value. So it went from being the thing that I want most on earth to something that I step on and break and I don't even care. I think that example of a child is also relevant to us as adults. What we wanted so much for, what we thought would attain our life's fulfillment, we get that, and months later or years later, we don't even care about it anymore, and we realize that that wasn't important. I know you've talked ultimately about what our purpose of life is. Is that the answer to this question too? If we understood our purpose of life, we would always have the perspective at any age of knowing what is treasure versus what is trash. I mean, is it that almost sounds so simple as a solution to a global forever problem of understanding our perspective. Is it as simple as saying if we know that we're here to add value to others, then we will always be able to separate trash from treasure?
We have to fundamentally answer three questions. Who are we? how are we made? How are we designed? And what is our purpose of life? These three answers would suddenly make your life totally worth living, happy. Who are we? We are a male, we are white, we are black, we are small, we are young, we are old, we are Asian, we are American, we are engineer, we are scientists, we are all these titles are not really defining who we are. We are not the human body. We are the force which enlivens the human body. Human body can lay dead with all the organs still there. We can take the organs and replace them into a living being. So organs are not dead. So our human body is dead because the enlivening force in the human body is missing. So the human body is a spacesuit given to us to conduct our journey on this earth. We are the power which enlivens the human body. Now, once you understand that, it is the same power which enlivens other human bodies. So our purpose of life becomes very clear, that I am here to serve that power which exists in me and exists in everyone else. So when you serve others, you serve because it is a good thing to do, and I get trophies and medals, I get accolades because I'm a good guy. But when you serve others, knowing that you are serving the divine power present in them, you become humble and you become grateful for this opportunity. You don't become a good person or bad person. It becomes your mission of life. And how we are designed unique, because nature has never duplicated anything. So we have to find our uniqueness, because that uniqueness is given to us to add value to others. We serve other person uniquely by the talents and uniqueness which is given to us. These three things. Who are we? We are the power which enlivens us, and we are given the uniqueness in this human body mode, and our service to others means our service to the divine force present in others, uniquely done. So this is what will keep us away from the worldly garbage, and we will utilize everything. Suddenly nothing is garbage, but we only utilize these things when they are needed, rather than collecting them as our possessions or egoic needs, right?
There's obviously so much wisdom in what you've just shared. A couple aspects of it that are especially notable to me is that in the first part of it, when you say we're all the same, we're all connected, we're all the divine force, on the surface, that makes us sound like meaningless on an individual basis. If you don't think about that and accept it for what it is, my first impulse could be, well, gee, I lose my uniqueness. I lose then the fact that I'm special and I want to be special. I want to be unique. But then you came back with the second part of that says we are unique. Each one of us has a unique creative ability to be what we were supposed to be while we're wearing the spacesuit, so that the education that we had in our life makes us different. The influences of those who love us, our parents, our siblings, our friends, make us unique. Our experiences that we go through make us unique. By nature, our human person, our genes and traits and characteristics are different. Like every snowflake is different, every leaf on a tree is different. We were created by nature a little bit different, and then we're influenced by all of these people and things. So in that concept, you're melding two incredibly powerful admissions of truth, that we're all the same because of the divine power within us, but we're all 100% unique in terms of what we can do and how we can be to serve that divine force. And I love that, because in our world today, we're teaching everybody the thing that's supposed to be valuable is that we're supposed to be me. We're supposed to love ourselves and be who we are and not worry about anybody else, what they think of us, because I'm supposed to be me. And what you're saying allows us to be me. It allows us to be that creative, unique individual that's supposed to do what we're supposed to do uniquely. But we're always supposed to know that the purpose of life is to serve the divine power in everyone else. And it's a beautiful melding, I think, of two thoughts that maybe on the surface people wouldn't understand can come together so powerfully. It that I don't want to misinterpret your words or your intent with what I just said. Is that consistent with what your thoughts were?
Yeah. It's because uniqueness, when we feel unique in the absence of knowing who we are, then your uniqueness only give you ego.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is, first we have to understand who we are. We are, without that power which gives us life, we are dead. We are not there. We can't even keep the dead body for too long. It starts to stink. So we are only existing until that presence of divine power is in us. So when a person dies, they say he died, his dead body is here. Where is he or she? That power which enlivens the body has gone away. And that is who you are. And then next step is that uniqueness of this spacesuit. This spacesuit is given some unique creative powers. So in that sense, all our uniqueness imparted in the spacesuit, which is going to be utilized for servicing the divine power around us, within us, is there. So our uniqueness is within the spacesuit, within the DNA, within the way we think, within the way we perceive things. And that is why when 10 people are standing and one information is passed on, the 10th person has a different concept of what information is given to that person. So we are unique. And thirdly, what do we do with all this uniqueness? And what do we do with this limited lifespan which we are going to be here? this universal power is going to exist only for a limited time in the spacesuit. So our purpose is to serve the human race. Purpose is to serve the environment. Purpose is to serve the divine power present in us. So this human body becomes a temple of the unique power present in us. Right?
We need to take a break. I didn't get to one of the topics asked by one of our Zoom guests, and I want to come back with it, Ratanjit, about dealing with negative people, because part of the trash that we are encountered with are negative people and negative vibes, complainers, as you alluded to earlier, that can kill any positive moment, can bring us down and make us see that trash. So I want to talk about how we deal with negativity and negative people when we come back. And then we have a few other thoughts to share with you on this edition of Stress Free Living. Please stay with us. All right, everybody, 90 seconds to hear your thoughts. If anybody has one that you want to include in the show, and then of course we'll talk with you afterwards.
I was going to add, when you asked like why do we still put this garbage into our bodies or into our minds when we know that it's not helpful for us. One thing I got in the last book that I read of Uncle's was what he just touched upon on the side at the end, is that if we start looking at our human body as the temple of this universal spirit that lives within us, then we start treating it very differently, right? Then you're treating it as a temple. You're treating it like you would a mosque or a gurdwara or a church, where you would go in and clean it and take care of it on a regular basis. We would, to me, that was really impactful when I read that. I think, I even for myself was like, oh my God, I have to work out. Like I have to take time to do these things because I owe that to this vessel that is holding, or is temporarily the spacesuit for that universal power. So I think that's also something that a lot of us miss, right? Is that, well, it's our duty to take care of the vessel so that the universal power can serve better the world.
Good thought to add. Thank you. I think we have a couple more seconds if anybody else has anything real quick to add. If not, we'll talk with you in about 10 minutes. All right. From Beverly. Okay. Beverly is just saying these are some good things to think about and to know. Thank you, Beverly. Good to have you. All right, we're coming back here. We are back on Stress Free Living with Ratanjit and yours truly, Ray Samich. Today, talking about finding trash. Well, no, actually finding treasure amidst all the trash that is around us. And materially, we know we can always understand that, like looking in a garbage dump and trying to find something of value, but also in our life, in so many aspects of times of darkness that we're looking for light, times of desperation and despair and hopelessness when we're looking for reasons to continue. Whatever that metaphor can be used for you, it's so easy to get buried in the trash and not see the treasure. Ratanjit, one of the ways of not seeing the treasure is because of the influence that we have by negative people. And they're all around us. And maybe sometimes they're us. Maybe sometimes we're even in that mode when we're just complaining about everything and negative with everything. How do you handle the situation when you're surrounded by negativity, when people are complaining? Do we try to straighten them out? Do we try to, offer hope to them and change their attitude? How do we keep from becoming negative ourselves when we're surrounded by negativity?
Negative people are basically equivalent to trash. And to find treasure in them, is going to change them. So what happens is every person has certain qualities which are unique. So if you find those qualities in them and point those out to them, it's like one of the rule of management is when you are talking to somebody who is working with you and you want to change them, you catch them doing something good and mention to them that, you know, you have done this thing very well, and go into detail of that particular thing. And then you can tell them what else to do. Now, because you have this unique talent, I bet you can do this thing better. And that is how you change them. Every person is not part in the oneness mode or uniqueness mode, and they are part in the ego mode. So one of the way to manage them is feeding their ego, catching them doing the right things. And because you catch them doing the right things, other people always find the negative things about them. They will begin to like you. They will begin to listen to you. And you would have the unique opportunity to continuously feed them the right information and ask them. So when you are noticed by doing certain things, you are more likely to do those things because you get noticed. Somebody recognizes you. So the way to change the negative people is notice them doing the right thing and mention to them, right?
How about when I love it. Thank you. How about when we're the negative ones? How about when we know things come out of our mouth that we regret, or thoughts come into our head that we want to chase away? I mean, it's very difficult to always be in a positive mode. Sometimes the trash of the world just hurts too much. It just beats us down too many times in one day or in one period of time. How do you suggest that we reinvigorate ourselves in those moments when we're a little more susceptible to becoming a negative person?
You know, this human body is given a special habit. So anytime when your one tooth has come out, so your tongue always go to that point. We always notice the negative things, the wrong things happening in our life, because the wisdom of the universe forces us to correct those things. So before you can correct them, you have to notice them.
Right.
So once you understand that this unique quality of recognizing the things which you consider wrong, you will notice them. That is your habits. But we have to develop control on yourself to point these things out to others, because by pointing the wrong things in others, you cannot change them. You can only change them by pointing the right things in them, so that they understand that you are the good wisher, you are noticed by them, and you have the opportunity to give them the right information. So understanding that this is the natural gift to us to notice the negative things, but develop a habit of communicating always through positive things, right?
Okay. And I think I get where you're going, to include also on ourselves. I mean, we think of our brain as being the ultimate source of our thoughts and our power, but it isn't a brain, as you pointed out so many times. If the brain is controlled by our spirit, then it's going to think of things that can help that spirit do its purpose, fulfill its purpose. And so when I'm negative, I'm going to reach inside of me and with a grateful heart, find the reasons why I shouldn't be negative. One more quick thought before we go away, from one of our Zoom guests. When we're talking about appreciating our life and appreciating and putting it in perspective to understand what is trash that we're putting into our body and how we need to be treating ourselves. I know you've used the term, I think you even use it today, of treating our body like a temple, because it houses the divine within it. And it's so easy to lose that thought process in our life. It's so easy to forget that we're housing something of great value within us, of ultimate perfection within us. And I think that thought, to wrap up one more time before we close, is really important, because it puts it in perspective when we are surrounded by trash, whether they're negative thoughts, whether they're actual harmful things to us, things that we could be taking in mentally, emotionally, physically. It's important that we are a temple, right? It's not just the spacesuit that you can throw away. It's a temple that was given to us to protect what's inside.
Once you consider this as a temple, you take care of it. You respect it because it's housing for the divine power. What you put in your mouth, there are two reasons. One is taste, and you're hungry, your body needs. Other is to nurture this temple. So once you are remembering constantly this, you are dealing with this temple, you have enormous respect and reverence for it. You will not throw into it food which is not good for this temple. You will do research, you will educate yourself. How do I serve this temple at its best? So as a consequence, you will have a healthy life and fulfilling life, Ray.
Ratanjit, thank you for all of your words of wisdom today, and love and guidance. We so appreciate you. And we appreciate all of our guests. Thank you for being with us on Zoom. For listeners anywhere around the world, live or on our YouTube channel, however you are watching us or listening to us today, we truly value you, and we hope we've added value to your life. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon. All right, we are clear. And that means it's our chance to interact with you. We see we have a youngster with us here today that is joining our call. We welcome our sweet young lady here. Thank you for being part of us. And if you have any thoughts, you can share those too, or anybody who's on the call with us. Please feel free to give us your thoughts. Dr. Ken, you have something?
Okay, if it's my turn, I will.
Your turn.
So, both of you have done fantastic job. I did not know, or at least I had no clue what we're gonna do today, but I found this topic very interesting. And I love Ratanjit's feedback that it's mostly in our minds, looking for positive things in all the garbage that we are looking for. And Ray, you have really organized the whole thought process by constantly questioning and putting into category. We really basically, what I got the idea that our purpose is to serve the power, the divine within us and within others, by looking some treasures in the garbage that we are seeing every day, and so much so that in looking positive things in negative people, or primarily negative people. And so is the same thing for us. This may be a little bit unfair question, Ratanjit, and I need your help in looking into all the positive things that you both are mentioning today. You mentioned that looking for positive things and looking for good things in others. Let's just talk about myself. Let's say this is the temple I have as a spacesuit, and my purpose is to serve the power or divine within me and within us. How do you serve that power? Because my understanding is that power is unchangeable. The divine is unchangeable. So we cannot change anything in that power. If we cannot, what is our purpose? Serving means what? Serving how? Can you help me with this first complicated question that goes through my mind every day? Just making us happy, we are making our body happy. How do we know we're making power happy? Power happy, power is not changeable. Divine is not changeable.
You know, this thing is a very valid question. It comes from the fact that we have been brainwashed consistently as God is perfect. God is ultimate. God is this. God. So how can you serve God? God only can serve you. Whereas,
I didn't know that, but go ahead.
But ultimately, service is what we call service is giving tea or giving food or giving clothes or material things. Real service comes from having incredible gratefulness, incredible reverence. Immersed in that reverence and gratefulness, you are inspired to serve. Whatever that serve is serving.
So the serving we are doing for body, right? When you said,
Not
make yourself, your happiness lies in making others happy. So I think the happiness you're defining two times, either by server or by receiver, carries different definitions. You are making your happiness long-lasting by serving others or making others happy. But the other's happiness is short. Let's say giving money, let's say giving something or feeding or something, that's going to last only for them if they decide to serve others. That's where their true happiness is.
You
So
know,
it's a complex question. Sorry about that.
you know what happens if somebody, there are two aspects.
Right.
One is you give them food or give them clothes or give them things.
That's not true happiness. That's a pleasure which is transient.
Other side is give them your recognition, give them respect, give them kindness. And they would remember you for a longer time then versus the material things give.
But you are serving them yourself because you want them to remember. What about their happiness?
No, no. Once you recognize, once you convey your reverence, your gratefulness, your kindness to others, that is the true serving. But sometimes a person who hasn't had meals, who is starved, who is outside, it is important to give them proper food and everything else before you give them the recognition and you are great, you are really designed by universe as a unique being, and you position them to be of service. Our purpose, ultimate purpose is, the old saying is, teach them how to fish rather than give them food.
Right.
Now, the real purpose is to convert them into value-adding entity. And to do that, you may have to feed them. You may have to give them some recognition. You have to elevate their self-worth. All that has to be done so that they get in a position to become a value-adding entity. That is the true serving. So you become as a catalyst actually at the end of a chemical reaction does not get consumed. It is still present. It catalyzes further. So you become a catalyst. You make an ordinary person who is not adding value and sitting, make them a value-adding entity. So you are adding value not only by yourself, by converting everybody to become a value-adding entity. That is your true purpose.
Yeah, I guess I know what you're saying, but every time I go teach students, the way I look at it, I'm not giving them happiness. I'm providing them with a tool to become happy.
Yes.
So I feel like I didn't do proper job. I think I need to continue to follow them till they become very successful so they can help their patient, but it never happens.
So
And I still feel incomplete.
So why do we remember a teacher who has made a tremendous difference?
Yeah, but that's my ego. I want to serve my ego. I want to serve them to make sure that they become happy when they are serving patients. But
no, what I'm
you know
saying,
what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is when you grow up and you still remember that teacher which made a difference in your life,
Yeah.
because he has converted you into value-adding entity. He has not given you a delicious dessert or food or anything. He has basically given you tools to become a value-adding entity.
Yeah, when you give them a tool to value-adding entity, it's not true happiness. I feel like I need to serve them more. I don't. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's not a complete, like today, you are giving show and teaching others. You keep on doing it. That's what makes you happy. Think about it. It's not one show you become happy. I taught everybody so they can remember me, right? You want to make sure that we become a value-added entity for others.
Yeah, you become that way. Whenever somebody touches you, that you give them that feeling.
Yeah.
You become that entity which adds value regardless. You become value-adding entity.
Yeah. Sorry
Ken,
for the complicated question, guys.
if I can add
Long process.
if I could add a thought for you, Dr. Ken, anytime that you do something repetitively over and over again, especially over a period of weeks or months or years, you don't realize the impact that you are making at any given moment in somebody's life who's been placed within your care. And so it's easy for you to ask these questions and maybe say, but I'm not getting enough, I'm not feeling enough out of the fact that you're adding value to others, because you become in a habit of doing it and not even thinking about the impact that it's making. And you're almost taking for granted the impact that it's making. I just have to believe, I've never attended a class that you've taught, but I have to believe the kind of person you are, understanding the depth of this message, Ratanjit's message, and also understanding the abilities that you have with physically teaching the tools. I have to believe that there are countless number of your students who you have made a special impact on, in terms of not only how to do things, but why to do things a certain way. And you'll, I can say this because I've had I'm very, very grateful that out of the clear blue sky, somebody will come up to me or send me a note or whatever, and I barely even noticed they were in the room when I was talking. Maybe some of them I didn't notice at all. And they'll come back to me and say, you really made an impact on me. That what you said or how you said it was really meaningful, and I've never forgotten it. And I've used that thought, or I've used that philosophy. And most of those, I would actually say all of those were ideas that I stressed because of this program, because of my relationship with Ratanjit, where he made such an impression on me. If I told somebody how to do advertising better or broadcasting better or understand commercial real estate better, those things were, they were moments of knowledge, and then they left them. But when I talked to them about how to add value, when I talked to them about what's important in life, when I talked to them about our true purpose and who we really are, even if I didn't know them and they didn't know me, those messages resounded with them and stayed with them years and years later. So I just offer that up to you to, make you understand that even if you're not seeing a response, and even if you're not feeling like you have said everything you could say or should say, believe me, if you're doing that with the right grateful heart, you're making an impression on people. You're truly adding value to them. So I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, because I have to believe that it's making an impression far beyond what you even realize.
Thank you for your feedback. But you guys are doing it every week, and I can't believe it. Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
It's therapy for me. It keeps me grounded when I talk with Ratanjit.
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it. Thank you.
It's therapy for me too.
Yeah, no, thank you. You both have added a lot of values to me, and I'm learning still every time I attend it. I wish I could do more.
Dr. Jagjeet, do you have anything today?
No, great talk. I think I agree in the previous question that it might not impact immediate, but slowly it impacts. And that is true for me also, because it was one day when I joined you guys, and I have been learning every time. So that is the real answer to that question. Even Ray has what Ray has told, that we don't know what will impact and at what time it will impact also. Sometimes we learn today, and maybe after 40 years, 30 years, we synchronize the same thing and in our life and attach it. So thanks a lot for keeping us informed and making us learn many things.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Because
thank
of
you.
we gain all these things.
Yeah.
Rika, you have
All right. How about our two lovely ladies up there? Any comments from you gals today?
No, I really enjoyed the show. I think, what you guys touched upon in the beginning, like those 3 questions that each of us need to really understand: who are we, how are we designed, and what is our purpose? I think it's cool. It's so simple, yet so powerful. And I think if we can really just get the world to understand this, I guess, no, first understand it ourselves and practice it ourselves, and then try to share it with the rest of the world. I think everyone would see a lot less garbage, or notice a lot less garbage. Yeah, that's it for me. Laha, what do you want to share one thing you took away from today? Anything? Let's see.
We don't want to put her on the spot. We're just glad we're glad she's with us. But if she has something to say, we want to hear it, but don't feel pressured.
Yeah. A bunch of notes.
You made a bunch of notes. Oh, your mommy's teaching you well.
All right. Thank you guys. It was really, really
All right.
enjoyable.
It is not
Thank
even
you.
it is not even this program. Even when we join other programs and there we need the same type of information, we are always referring to Ratanjit Singh and your program that we heard this thing and this is how that is how we even propagate the message also. The same message is passed on. If I would not have heard, I could not have passed on those messages. So it is not, the impact is not only on the people who are sitting here, but it is a lot more, because wherever we are conveying it.
Oh, thank you.
So, yeah,
Thank you.
that is always,
Well,
and especially Ratanjit Singh knows, Gyanijis, they are having a class every Friday, and I have always discussed this program in that Friday class with the group of about 15-20 people, ladies, which we have. What was the topic and what we discussed? I summarize it. So it is not only, keep it up, because it is not only the people who are sitting here, but it message goes a long way.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
I think if you don't have any other thoughts, we'll let you go. We appreciate you being with us. We look forward to having you back next week.